Hi, thanks for gardening with me. I'm Melissa, and today I'll be working in the vegetable garden. I'll be harvesting some red potatoes and some green beans. This is a volunteer. So what happened was last year I must have missed a potato in the ground when I harvested them. And so early spring this plant started growing up. So I didn't plant it there, so I'm not really sure what to expect. I'm hoping to get anywhere between 4 to 7 potatoes. And normally when I would harvest potatoes, I would dry them out and then I would store them in the basement in a dark, cool place where they're not touching each other for at least 10 days after that to let them harden off before I store them for the winter. But these I'm probably only gonna get anywhere, like I said, between 4 and 7 potatoes. So I'm not even gonna worry about that. I am gonna sit them out, let them dry for a few hours before I take them inside, but I'm probably going to be making potato salad out of them in the next day or two, so I'm not really worried about hardening them off and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest these and let you see what that looks like. So I'll give you a few tips when you're harvesting your potatoes. Number one, to know when to harvest them is when the plant starts to die back. This plant does still have a lot of green left in it, so I could wait probably another couple weeks, but I really want this bed to be taken over with green beans. I have some there that I planted a while ago. I have 2 pepper plants here, and this whole space I put in some green bean seeds a little bit ago, so I really want to just give them room to go. And I never planned for this to be here to begin with. Like I said, it came up from last year. I have another rogue potato over there that came up from last year. I have no idea what color that one's going to be. And then I have potatoes over on the other side that I actually did plant this year. So another tip that I'd like to give you is don't plant the same thing in the same spot every single year. What happens is there's certain pests that attack certain plants and certain bacteria that attack certain plants. And when you plant the same thing in the same spot every single year, that bacteria and that disease and those insects, they just flourish because they just keep continuing to feed off of the same thing every year, and then they lay their eggs or whatever in the soil. And so next year when you have the exact same plant that's their favorite thing to eat comes up, they're like, oh yeah, I remember this, we're all set. So move your things around. Plant your beans where you had your potatoes. Plant your kale where you had your peppers. Just move things around and you'll be glad you did. You can definitely do some research about that, and it's proven that you definitely don't want to plant the same thing in the same area every year. So I'm going to go ahead, and I think what I'm going to do is just pull on this plant and see what comes up. And I'll probably just break the plant. Yep, there we go. Just broke it right off. And I'll do this. So there are 2 stalks. So I really wonder what I'm going to get. All right, 3 stalks. Oh, there's one attached. You see it? So at least I have one. I know that for sure. There's one. Now after you harvest your potatoes, you want to kind of rub the soil off of them, and then lay them gently in your basket or drying rack, whatever you're going to use. I do have a couple weeds in here. But don't toss them. If you toss them, you're going to bruise them, and if you bruise them, then they're going to rot, and that won't be any good. So there's that one. Now what I'm going to take is my garden fork, and I'm going to come way back here where I know there shouldn't be any potatoes. Dig that into the ground and lift the soil up from that area. Because if you scratch your potatoes when you're digging them up, they will not store for you, and you'll have to eat them within the next couple days. Boy, I hope I get more than 1 potato. I'm kind of nervous to break them all up. they're so easy to scratch that I just scratched that one with my hand. But look at the size of that one. That's nice. So good thing I'm going to be eating these soon. See, when you get the potatoes in the store, you can never just peel the skin off just by rubbing them. And that's because they have been hardened off. Suckers are deep. 5, 6. Not too bad for a harvest I didn't even plant, huh? Goodies. Here. Ooh, that's a nice one. Goodness. See, this one's way over where you wouldn't even expect it to be. Alright, well I think this may be it. Not a bad harvest, considering I didn't even plant them this year. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 nice big ones. 1, 2, 3, 4 medium-sized ones, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 itty-bitties. So really happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is rub all the soil off of them. I'm not going to wash them. Never get your potatoes wet after you harvest them. And then also I'm going to let them sit out and dry for a few hours. And that's the only time that they're going to be in the sun. And I won't even put them in the direct sun, I'll put them in the shade. But you definitely want to dry them out, space them out, let them dry really well. And then when you store them, if I was going to store these for a long period of time, like I said, I would harden them off for 10 days in a very dark, cool place where they're not touching. And that would let the skin harden, and then you could store them in the basement for the rest of the winter and eat off of them. But you don't want to let them be exposed to light. If they are exposed to light, other than for this little bit of drying time right here, they'll turn green and they'll just be ruined. They won't be any good. So pretty happy with that. That'll make a really nice potato salad. So I'm gonna really enjoy these, and I know that there's never been any chemicals used on them, no pesticides except for my organic spray that I do use, but they look really great, so happy with that. Now I'll be harvesting my green beans. So I haven't really been harvesting on these green beans yet, but I know that there's going to be quite a few of them in here, and hopefully I can stick with the plan to use my scissors and not start pulling. Patience has never been a virtue of mine. There we go. 3 nice big ones right there, right off from the start. There we go. I feel like I got most of the big ones. Not a huge harvest, but plenty for Tony and I. My favorite way to cook these up is to just take the ends of them off, put a little bit of olive oil in the pan, some of my fresh garlic, a little bit of salt and pepper, and just fry them up real quick to where they're still a little crunchy. And boy, they're so good that way. That's my favorite way to eat them. Could eat an entire plate of them. So that's it. Here's the harvest for today. We have some red potatoes that are just volunteered from last year. Totally didn't expect to have them. They all look absolutely wonderful. Can't wait to try those. I'm going to make a potato salad with that. We have the green beans that I'll fry up tonight with a little bit of garlic and salt and pepper. Cook them to where they still have a nice snap to them. My mom made those for me for the first time and I absolutely loved them. Also my grandma Sophie, she made the best green beans I've ever had in my whole life. And she would cook them all day long with pork fat and some onion, and oh my gosh, they're so wonderful. Would love to make those, learn how to make them the way that she did because they were so good. And then I have my kale here, and I will take the stems off of those, cook those up with a little olive oil, garlic, salt, and pepper, and they'll be really wonderful. But thank you so much for gardening with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you did. It's free. All you need is just an email account and hit like, and I can't wait to harvest everything else and bring that to you the rest of the season. Have a great week and God bless.